We are back today with Brandy of Brandy Burrow Astrology, and we are going to be talking about the murder of Shanquella Robinson that happened on October 29th of 2022 in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. This case is very strange. This is one of those cases like we did the Idaho murders last week, and the timeline with that. And like, while there's a lot of weird shit with that case too, this one is kind of weird in terms of like getting the facts down and knowing what the fuck was going on and even why the fuck she was with these people to begin with. So yeah, if you want to start out with that, if you want to say, hey, what's up?
Hey, Brandy with Brandy Burrow Astrology. Yeah, and me and Ellie, we enjoy doing criminal astrology, forensic astrology, trying to piece together what happens in these crimes. So this was a very interesting one. This is one where I wanted to go to the charts to get more details, because when you read about this crime, it just leaves you with so many questions.
It does. And it also seems like, yeah, just like the facts of this particular case, I can't really nail down a whole bunch of them. And I know some of that has to do with this also didn't take place in the US, this took place in Mexico. And there are some questions about how their government handles things.
Yeah.
There have been some questions about how this has been handled in this case. And me and Brandy definitely have some questions about what they have come back with. The death certificate from the coroner's report came back saying that she passed at 3 p.m. The police say it happened at 5:57. That's the time on the deaths, or that's the time they came back with. There's a lot of conflicting shit here.
Yeah, it's like right when we dived in, I started with the death certificate, and it says she passes at 3 p.m. and that injury occurred 15 minutes prior. And then there's this police report that has this timeline of a doctor being called at 2:13, and then there's these events from there, and then she's declared dead at 5:57. So really different from what the death certificate implies. So that's where astrology comes in handy to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See which one's more accurate.
Should we start with the 2:45?
Yeah, let's do it.
Because like the coroner's the report says that she passed at 3 p.m., but that whatever happened to her, that they said that it was the severing of the spinal cord from the brain.
Right.
It would have happened 15 minutes prior to round about 15 minutes prior to when she died. So yes. That's why we're looking at, 2:45. If you go to the Wikipedia article, which is, I know Wikipedia is not an authority on these things, but it does have a timeline. If you want to check it out, I'm looking at it on my other iPad as we do this.
Wikipedia was using the report from the Mexican police.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
but you'll see, if you do go on this article, you'll see that 2:45 isn't a time listed, but because of that's why we're pulling the chart for this particular.
Yes, this 2:45 comes from the death certificate saying she passed at 3 and the injury occurred 15 minutes prior. So that's where we got to 2:45 p.m.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the chart. Let me make it just a little bit bigger. This is the chart for 2:45 on October 29th of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's right.
So we have Aquarius, the ascendant in Aquarius, which would represent her.
Yeah, we would look at I always go with the traditional ruler first. So Saturn, which is right there on the ascendant, technically in the 12th house, but basically on the ascendant at 18 degrees. And we got her as well.
Oh, and I was also going to mention that the fixed star that happens to be right around there. I'm looking at have it in the book. At 20 degrees, 12 minutes of Aquarius, the fixed star Castra. It indicates destructiveness, uncontrollable temper, malevolence. Sorry,
Yeah.
I can't pronounce shit.
Malevolent. I have a hard time
Malevolent.
too.
Malevolence. Yes, you're right. Malevolence.
Bad energy.
Yes. Yeah. Bad shit. And it's considered unfortunate for Saturn and Jupiter, but with Saturn right there at 18 Aquarius, that rising at 20 Aquarius, it happens to fall kind of right between them. It does seem that she was in a situation at this point in time that was not good at all.
Right. Yeah. And I got to tell you, Ellie, like, it is somewhat common to see Saturn on the ascendant or that close to it for someone who passes from either suffocation or unable to breathe, which I mean, a severed spinal column would,
Yeah.
that would definitely be a thing. So there's some sort of restriction there.
Okay.
So that's interesting and somewhat common to see that line up with that sort of passing.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see how that would, how that would be the case. What do you think about the seventh house has Leo on the cusp, which would indicate, and the seventh house is where the seventh house cusp is where you look at for the perpetrators. In this case, she traveled to Mexico with 6 other people, one of them being her friend, the other ones loose acquaintances or not really. Well, I mean, clearly these people were not her friends, but
listed as travel companions in the online.
That's up. Yeah. So, and so this is kind of representative of these individuals, this Leo on the cusp of the seventh house, especially with I have not watched it. I know you haven't either, Brandy, but there's a video that came out about with her getting beaten on, which is disturbing as shit. And it is, from what I've read about this video, it is these travel companions that were involved in this. So this would represent them. Mm-hmm. And then the sun in the ninth in Scorpio. How would you think about that?
So being that it's in the ninth, very literal, this is happening on foreign land, that's one clue right there. One thing I see, so the sun representing the perpetrators, being in the sign of Scorpio. So for Shanquella, we have Saturn representing her, but we also have the moon representing her as well. And if you notice, the sun in Scorpio, it's in the sign of Scorpio, it's in the moon's fall. So right there, we know the moon doesn't like this energy.
And even the moon being in Capricorn, where it's considered in detriment.
Yeah. So in the 11th house of friends.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So this does set up a picture that she either maybe doesn't like these people or is finding out that these people aren't good for her. There's something about the energy she doesn't like.
Yeah.
And we got Venus right there by the sun combust, for relationships. Ellie, you brought up such a great point. Libra being intercepted in the 8th house too, so also sort of like a setup here that at least explains the energy. There's something not compatible with these people and her.
Yeah. And the 8th house in these particular charts is literally death. Like not you don't always read the 8th house in a natal chart this way, but in these kinds of charts you do look at the 8th house for death. And there is, that Libra intercepted in the 8th does kind of stand out, like a hidden reason for this or for the death itself. I know we were talking earlier about perhaps jealousy
jealousy.
having, the eighth house can also be sexuality, right? And then you've got Venus in Scorpio, which also can deal, Scorpio energy is also sexual in nature. This could tie in as well.
It's secretive and hidden too.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, there's so much speculation here, but these are just some ideas of what's going on in the background, and this could also really reflect why there's so many questions. People aren't talking, obviously, because and it's not just, they don't want someone to know something as far as a crime. I'm thinking the perpetrators don't want something to be known about them.
I think that's, yes. I think that's very, very possible. And even with Virgo, on the cusp of the eighth, it's almost like trying to keep it organized, like trying to, do you know what I mean? Like trying to, I don't know how I want to word that, but there is like an organization here that feels like it's trying to hide whatever it is. Like
trying to have a story, or
yes,
or I know I always try to be careful when discussing these things, but you know how it is, like when you travel, like the old saying, like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, so when people travel, sometimes different things come out, and this is like really wanting to keep that there is kind of the sense I get.
Yes. What about, is there anything else, with this particular chart?
Pluto in the 12th, that's pretty violent, intense. I just, and I'm trying to, like I said, I don't know if this is like intuitive or if this is something I'm seeing. I don't get the sense this is too planned out. There's something kind of, and you got Uranus on the ascendant. Okay. So we could also, not Uranus, Aquarius, which is modernly ruled by Uranus. So this could be, I get the sense it's an impulsive moment.
Yeah. It kind of feels like, yes. Yeah. That's kind of, and I really have that. I have the same feeling intuitively that you do about that. And that could also be some of why this feels kind of confusing, why this entire case does. Like, it just doesn't, well, I'm sure there is a rhyme or a reason for them in some way. It's, it doesn't, this doesn't feel like it was super, super planned.
Yeah. And it's going to be really hard to get down to, I think, what really happened, what really sparked here, what was the reason, because I just feel like the Scorpio sun representing the killers, they're really trying to keep certain information on the down low about them personally, I think.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and also the moon is out of bounds in this chart. So that kind of also gives this, this could be another reason why this feels fucking weird. Like this, it really could. It could play in with that as well.
And if I'm going from memory here, Mars is not yet retrograde, but it's probably stationed. It's probably not moving. Is that right?
Yeah, Mars, I think didn't Mars turn retrograde on the 30th?
Yeah, so it's actually stationed, being like kind of at a standstill.
Yes.
So I'm kind of looking at, sorry, I'm thinking, I'm actually thinking out loud while we're recording when I'm looking at the.
Well, no, this is an interesting thing to bring up because Aries is intercepted.
Yeah, exactly. And that part of fortune and Chiron right there, Aries intercepted, being rolled by a stationed Mars in the sign of Gemini, which would be more of like the home location for these people. That's a little concerning as far as I think that's kind of a concerning testimony of information coming out, and progress and action on this. So concerning for the family. No,
I agree with that. I agree with that.
That's a very, you want Mars moving in something like, you know, trying to get information in a sign of Gemini and it's stationed. It's,
You thinking that? I mean, I did read online that there wasn't a let me see, let me pull up the damn picture. Hold on. So I can get it accurate. It says that there is okay, wait, what is it? Sorry. Hold on, sorry about
I know
that.
this is one case, like usually I can read a case and have pretty much the information in my head. This is what we're dealing with. This is one case I have to keep going back and looking up information just because there's so many, it's Swiss cheese. There is so many holes in the story and
there really is. I was looking on a website, some news website where it says an arrest warrant has been issued in her death, but I don't know who. It doesn't say who. It doesn't say which one of the 6 people.
and her family. Shanquella's mom said the police wouldn't even tell her who it was for, so they don't even know.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And oh, Ellie, so Mars and Mercury are in mutual reception, meaning they're in each other's sign. And
Yes.
Mars is ruling the 9th house. I don't want to like really predict too much here, but this is concerning that whatever Mexico ruled this as or how they handled the case, it might end up just staying with that.
I can see. Yeah, and they've tried to, and I say tried to. I think they actually have. They've ruled this as a femicide.
Yeah.
But like we were talking about earlier, and it just seems like Mexico tends to rule the death of women or a woman as this when they don't really want to fuck with it anymore. That's kind of the vibe that you and I were getting, you know, from. So yeah, I can, yeah. No, I see what you're.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's what will happen, but you know, with the astrology showing this, it might be headed that direction, or at least a good chance. But yeah.
Should we do you want to look at the 3 p.m. chart?
Yes. So 3 p.m. is what the death certificate issued for her in Mexico had her time of death listed as.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And
okay.
Yeah. So we still got, you know, Saturn is in the 12th with Pluto, Aquarius rising. And then we have Mercury in the 8th. I'm just comparing it to mine here. So, and you got the sun right there. It's in the 8th house. It kind of looks like the 9th, but it's right before.
Yeah.
And so this to me is an accurate death chart.
Yeah. I mean, seeing the ruler. Yeah.
Seeing that, you know, Saturn tucked away more, you know, in the 12th house. You got a luminary like the sun in the 8th. Yeah, this is, to me, I feel like this is an accurate chart of someone who's passed away.
And the ruler of the 4th in the 8th as well.
And the reason we say this, because if you look at the police report, they listed her as declared dead at 5:57 p.m. and there's no markers in that chart for death. This has this has a huge death pattern on it. So I think this is what time she died.
Yeah, I think it probably is too, because as we were talking about, the further along you go with these charts, the more kind of off the rails this feels like this goes. It's because I was telling Brandy, I was like looking at it one night, like at like 2 a.m, like looking at these charts, and I was like, what the hell is going on here? I was like, this doesn't even make any fucking sense as you go, and we'll show you the 5:57 chart. But it's like, this doesn't make any sense. This doesn't have a death pattern. What the fuck is going on? I thought maybe I was just like really tired and not, my brain wasn't firing right. But I come to find out, I was looking at it, the next day, and I was like, no, my brain was firing right. These are weird.
They are weird. I know. When you're pulling out astrology reference books, because like it's not making sense, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, you realize, oh, and that's a great thing about criminal astrology. When you do not have a right time for something, that chart will be off. Like it just works so well. When you have a good time and when you have a bad time.
I just noticed, I just thought of something here. Okay. So law enforcement, right, is the 10th house.
Yes.
10th house law enforcement's handling of it.
Right.
Okay. So we've got Jupiter in the first, in this chart, intercepted in Pisces.
Yes.
There's something hidden.
Neptune.
Yeah, there's something hidden here about this.
Yeah, and Neptune's also illusion, and with it being that close. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Why would they want to do this? That would be pure speculation, but that I don't even know
what I've read. So not Brandy Burrow from Brandy Burrow Astrology's theory. It's something I've read that if there's some sort of, let's say, foul play, or someone dying pretty unnaturally in Mexico, of course the U.S. gets involved because it's a U.S. citizen. Theories are that, perhaps this needed to be solved and maybe presented a certain way to keep things clean between the countries.
Yeah.
That's what I've read.
Yeah, because who really wants the US up their ass? I mean, on
And Mexico, is a tourism place.
Uh-huh.
And there's already in the last few years been some bad press. There's issues with cartels and these sorts of things, and so they might just be trying to keep things looking okay for economic reasons too. I mean, there's all sorts of theories.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah.
I want to see with let me see real quick because I've got it on that page. No, it doesn't really. Okay, so I was looking at the fixed star. We just wanted to check real quick with that. Since I have the book open. Well, okay. Yeah, 29 Pisces, 29 degrees, 22 minutes of Pisces, which is right where that Jupiter is.
Yep.
It's okay. I cannot pronounce sheet. Scheat. Sheet.
We'll go with that.
I'm shit. Sorry. I'm shit at pronouncing things. I'm like total shit at it. It indicates imprisonment, murder, suicide, drowning, extreme misfortune.
And that's on the ruler of the authorities that are investigating, the police.
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe, okay, here's another thing that I'm thinking of. Okay. Like in this, okay, supposedly a doctor was called
at 2:13.
At 2:13. Now I got some real questions about that, just because if you read things, and again, this is all kind of, well, I guess it's not all it's kind of hard to tell what's speculation and what's not, but supposedly this doctor was called, and instead of just fucking taking her to a hospital, they fuck around in this room for hours because the people that she's traveling with say, oh, no, you don't need to take her to a hospital. I'm thinking, what fucking doctor is going to listen to six, you know what I mean? 6 other,
yeah, I believe they were telling the doctor she just had too much to drink.
Yeah. And so I've got some real questions about if a doctor was even called, because and this is me making that claim here. I have questions about if a doctor was even called, or if somebody was called, were they really a doctor?
Oh, we
Uh,
can just look at the autopsy report. That's a fatal injury. That's
Yes.
not a lingering over a span of a few hours injury.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
fatal injury.
It's so I'm wondering here if the police, if the handling of it in some way is seen as misfortunate to them, and so like bringing that fix. So that's another reason why they're wanting to, or feel like they can't come out with everything because of how it was handled. There's
see,
something,
like negligent.
yeah, there's something funky with, the way that this was. Yeah, there's something, and I think they probably know what it is.
Yeah. I think they know. And that's where like like immediately there's questions. I was like, okay, why is there a death certificate that says this? And then why after the fact was there a police report that came out with this timeline that was so different than the death certificate?
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe some sort of neglect, or not handling right, or just not saying that's what happened, but just maybe something like that. That's something like the astrology like this would definitely, it would fit for a situation like that.
Yes, it would. Should we show the 557 one?
Yeah, just to compare. So just so you can see the difference.
Okay, I hope I pull the right one here.
I have it somewhere.
Okay, good. I got it. Sometimes I can't see the little bitty.
Yeah, so this you would have an Aries rising chart with Mars in the third house.
Which is not a death marker.
No, you got the
Saturn,
Scorpio, Mars,
Saturn and Pluto have moved out of the 12th.
Yes, which means it's moved out of the 12th. That's already occurred. Like, yeah. So, there's, it's not funny, but I'm just like, there's, the fourth house, the ruler of endings here is the moon in the ninth house. No death markers in this chart.
Yeah, the ruler of the fourth and the ninth, in this case, with her being out of the country, it's like to me, it's like she already passed out of the country.
Yes. Yes. So this is definitely a way to kind of check the facts here. Okay, this is not a someone's died chart. You look at the 3 p.m. Oh yeah, someone's died here. I can totally see that. There's really not anything you can pull out of this to confirm death.
You also have the ruler of the seventh in the seventh, so they're like on their turf.
They're in their room. They're back in their rooms or something. Yeah, they're on their turf. I can't. This would be an interesting way to look at this. Being that Mars is the ruler of the ascendant in third, which would be like vehicles. Is the body already in transit?
Could be, yeah.
So
for sure.
That would be in transit, like, oh, it's already, someone's dead. This isn't, oh, we're declaring someone dead at this time. They're in a hospital bed. They're, this.
Do you think that Mars here, right, stationing retrograde, being the ruler of the ascendant, could this point towards like a screwiness with information even?
Could, because it's in the sign of Gemini. Yeah.
Like and even perhaps the need to backtrack.
Yeah. I think so.
This whole case feels very scrambled. Like there's a scrambled element.
Yeah. 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 I will agree with that.
Is there anything else that you want to mention about this case or this chart or anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it's been covered, again, it just kind of comes down to the same thing. There's just information being suppressed here, not by a couple parties, not just by the friends or the acquaintances Shanquella was with, but also by the authorities that handled the initial investigation and crime. And so very, very Scorpio-like, right? And so definitely suppressed information. And we won't really go too much into this, but me and Ellie were discussing what's the motive here, and even that is not clear, even looking at the astrology. So just a case where the astrology just also reflects all the mystery in this.
Yeah. Yeah, it really, it's really not very clear what the motive is. I think, in the one chart, was it the 245 one with Venus in the ninth? Was it in the ninth?
It was in the ninth with the sun combust, yeah.
In Scorpio, there's like there could be a jealousy thing, even a sexual thing, but it's hidden, right? Because we're talking about Scorpio, so there's like a hidden secretive element to it.
Right.
And I really have questions that if we'll ever fully know.
Yeah. Being that the case and the astrology are just filled with fogginess and hidden information and secrets, I'm not real, I don't know. I'm just not convinced that the information will come out, which is horrible.
Yeah, it is.
Normally when, if we're looking at this case and let's just say Shanquella was just missing, we didn't know where she was. You got the sun and moon at the top of the chart. We would say, oh, well, we know she'll be found. There'll be some sort of resolution here. I feel like what is known now is just where it's going to stop. And that's okay. That's what we got. That's all the police has. And it's not going to go much further.
Yeah, I think that's unfortunately, yeah.
But here's a little ray of hope here. I won't leave it so much like that. We know we have times that are wonky. Okay. We know we have the reporting from the police report and stuff that's wonky. If this information comes out, we're going to know, oh, maybe the charts weren't right, so maybe there's a glimmer of hope that we just don't have the accurate times to look at and something will be there.
And this definitely crossed my mind, because I mean, while the one for the coroner's report does make the most sense, it's possible that that's fucked too. It is possible.
Yeah,
it is possible. Yeah, it is. It is.
So there's that, so I won't say, oh, I don't want to say this will never be solved or cleared up, but maybe if this is an accurate time, it's not good testimony, it will get cleared up. But if that time is wonky, maybe it will.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It does. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and head off. But we did want to
say, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say we do want to say to anybody that could be watching this, that was family member of Shanquella's or a friend or what have you, we are so sorry for your loss. And we really do hope that justice is served for this. That
absolutely. I hope there's justice. I hope this family gets their answers they need. And I absolutely hope that's the outcome here.
Yeah, I do too.
And
I really
very, very sorry. Condolences to the family for sure. And then did we want to say anything about Aries in general?
Yes. Okay. So in the video about Idaho that we did last week, there was a comment, somebody, and I understand that this might be confusing, something about how they have, I can't remember what they said they have in their chart. They have Aries in their chart and they've never They've never stabbed anybody. When we're talking about these charts from this lens, we're not reading it in the same way that you would read a natal chart. It's a different lens to read it through. So if you ever hear anything about, say, like, I don't know, like, let's say what your sun sign is, and it's not as favorably talked about, we are in no way, shape, or form trying to say that because you're in Aries or have something in Aries in your chart that you want to stab people or what, whatever. That's not what we're doing here. Just, I did want to throw that out, just because if one person mentioned that in a comment, I'm sure other people had that same thought. So let's throw that out there, that this is a different way, a different way of reading them.
Different system. Yeah. So if we're saying, well, Scorpio, that's secrets, that's this, that's jealousy. We're not saying people born under the Scorpio sun are like that. So it's horary astrology is what this is. And you're exactly. You're looking at it through a different lens. So any remarks we make about signs or planets absolutely are not the same as like a natal chart reading or saying anything about your personality.
Yeah, I did want to, I almost forgot. Thanks for reminding me to do that, because I almost forgot about that. But yeah, it is something, it is something that you needed to bring up. But anyway, I guess we're going to head off. Thank you so much for coming back on and doing this.
Thank you. I always enjoy our time together. Thank you so much.
I do too. And we'll have to do this again.
I would love
to. Actually, next time we might be on your channel.
Yeah, you might find me over there. Brandy Burrow Astrology. You'll find us somewhere.
And I will put where you can find you in the description box below, where you can connect with Brandy if you want to. You should do that. And everybody else, I will see y'all later.